I took the blame for his infertility for 5 years. I wore it everywhere. To baby showers where I'd hold someone else's newborn and smile through the ache. To family holidays where my mother-in-law would pat my hand and say maybe next year. To the grocery store where the cashier would ask if I had kids and I'd say no and watch her face soften into that look. The pity look. I got very good at not flinching. And then, on a Tuesday morning in March, his mistress knocked on my door. She was 5 months pregnant. The coffee maker had just finished gurgling. I was leaning against the kitchen counter, watching the last few drops fall into the carafe, and I remember thinking that the house was too quiet. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, exactly 1 person in it most days. We bought it 6 years ago, when everything still felt like it was opening up. I'd designed every room myself, the navy accent wall, the marble look court, the built-in bookshelves in the den that Ethan had said he'd use and never did. It was the kind of house you raised children in. That was the joke. No messages from Ethan. He'd left at 6:30, mumbled something about a client breakfast. I hadn't asked which one. I'd stopped asking a long time ago. I poured coffee into a faded sunflower mug, Dana's college gift, and carried it to the table. The mail was spread out. Utility bill, pizza coupons, a handwritten envelope from Patricia. I didn't open. I knew what it said. Something about the church lunch. Something. We're all praying for you. As if my body were a renovation project waiting on the doorbell. Nobody rang doorbells in this neighborhood without texting for. I walked to the foyer and peered through the side. A young, blonde hair in a loose ponytail. Gray sweater dress stretched over an unmistakable curve. She held her purse with both hands, bracing it. I opened the door. Can I help you? You're Clara Mercer. The woman's eyes. I'm Anna. I work with Ethan. I'm 5 months in. The words landed like a stone in still water. I move. It's Ethan's, he said. Her voice. I know this is the way, but he keeps saying he'll tell you and he does. And I can't keep doing this. I gripped the frame. The wood was warm from the sun. You came to my house. Had to. She pressed a hand on her stomach, like she was shielding it from her face. He says you two haven't been. That over. That you sleep in separate rooms. No, we don't sleep in rooms. Stepped back. I'm inside. I didn't set it. Maybe because the neighbors could see. Maybe because the doorway felt too much like a scene from a show I'd never. Brianna sat at the kitchen table, hands full. I remained standing. How long? 8 months. Party. She looked at her hands. He told me to have children. That it was hard for both of you, but you'd accepted it. You said you were relieved. That you didn't want anyway. My mouth went dry. I reached for my coffee. Changed my mind. My hand fall. He told me a lot of things. I'm starting to think. The silent sound. Refrigerator hum. A dog barking 2 houses over. A car road. I think you should leave, I said. Brianna stood. I know you hate me, but I'm not the enemy. He's the one. I know what he is. My voice was steady, which surprised me. At the door, Brianna paused on the knob. He's going to ask you for a divorce. Probably today. I thought you should hear it from first. Clicked shut. I stood in the kitchen for a long time. The gone cold in the mug. I could feel my heartbeat in my fingertips, slow and heavy, like a clock counting I couldn't name. I was still there, went up. That mechanical groan, the rumble of a sedan pulling in, so ordinary, so part of the daily rhythm, that for a second I thought I'm on. He thicked in through the mudroom, briefcase in hand, jacket slung over his arm. He stopped when he saw my face. I'm early. To talk to you about. Set the briefcase on the table, unclasped it. The brass snaps were loud in the quiet room. He pulled out a manila folder and tossed the table toward me. Didn't touch it. You know what this is, Ethan said. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the folder, at a spot just above it, but my face. It's been a long time coming. We both know that. Do, Clara. He sighed. I was the worst. Patient. Like I was being unreasonable. You can't give me a child. Both knew this day would come. 36. On a family. You deserve. Harder than it has to be. The papers are fair. You get the car. We'll split the equity on. My lawyer said. Clara. He only looked at me, eyes flat. The look he got when he'd already decided something and everyone else to catch up. She's pregnant. I have a responsibility. She was here today. 5 months pregnant. A flicker crossed his face. Surprise and then smoothed back out. She wasn't supposed to. She told us. It is. He said it simply, confirming a dinner reservation. This is why I'm doing this now. Ethan. Said his name the way you'd get a dog's flat, sharp. You can't have children. The room went very. He blinked. What? The accident. 5 years ago. The doctor said I stopped. Something I'd promised never to say. Something locked to half a decade, Ethan stared. His mouth was open, and in that silence, something shifted behind his eyes. Not confusion, but recognition. The kind of person when they hear a truth buried. He knows, or the diagnosis was, or he got better, or there was a follow-up test I never saw. Boulder sat between us on the table. I didn't reach for it. Instead, I turned and walked in the hallway, past the bathroom, past the bed, to the door at the end. The walk-in closet I'd designed myself, with the little that nobody bent. Clara? Going. We need to talk about this. I didn't answer. I opened the closet door. Warm air, cedar, and old fabric. I reached past coats and storage bins to the bottom shelf. Box sat behind a row of shoes. I pulled it out, on the side of my own handwriting. Records. My hands were shaking. But I opened the box anyway. The box smelled like paper and dust. Clara carried it to the bed and sat down, her knees suddenly weak, and lifted the lid. Inside, everything was organized the way she organized everything. Labeled envelopes, rubber-banded stacks, a handwritten index card on top that read, Accident, March 2021. She'd been so careful with these records, so careful with his secret. She pulled out the first envelope. The urologist's report, dated 3 weeks after the accident. She'd read it 100 times. Severe oligospermia. Probability of natural conception. Less than 2%. The doctor had recommended adoption or donor sperm. Ethan had been in the next room, staring at the wall, when the doctor said it. Clara had held his hand afterward and said, "We'll figure it." He hadn't said anything back. She set that report aside and dug deep. There were her own records. The fertility workup she'd gone through 6 months later, at Patricia's insistence. Just to be thorough, Patricia had said. Clara's results had been perfectly, boringly normal. But normal didn't matter when the story had already been written. She kept hospital discharge papers, physical therapy records, a bill from a specialist she didn't and at the an envelope she didn't recognize, thinner than the other. No, she opened it. A single page. Lab results. Date, September 2020. 2.5 years after the semen analysis. Total sperm count within normal. Motility, morphology, normal. Clara read it, and she read it again, fully. Word, as if the letters might rearrange themselves into something she could. September 20. He'd been tested, and the results he'd known for over 2. She sat on the bed with the paper in her lap, and she'd there, feeling something structural inside. A load-bearing wall she'd been leaning against for years, and it wasn't. Attack Ethan. We need to talk about papers. I can cry tomorrow. She texted. Then Dana picked up a second ring. It was just Dana. Clara's voice sounded foreign in ears. I need you to come over. Right now. Are you okay? What happened? Just 'cause. 40 minutes later, Dana was in the kitchen, reading the lab result open. Had made tea. She always made tea when she didn't know what to do. And with sauce from her. Hands wrapped around a mug she wore. This is from 2023, Dana said. Clara, he's been for this whole time. I know. And his parents? I don't know yet. But Patricia was the one who pushed me to get tested. She kept saying, oh, he knew. War. It was a good long swear, the kind she only used when she was genuinely angry. What are you going to do? I don't know. He left divorce papers. He said I'd give him a child. He said it like it was a fact. Like he'd forgotten that the fact was we agreed to tell Clara. Dana reached across the table and for Clara's. You didn't agree to this. You agreed to protect him from something that was true at the time. He didn't tell you it stopped being true. That's not an agreement, Con. Clara looked at her friend, at the smudge of marker on Dana's from her kid's homework, the chipped nail polish, at the way Dana was looking at her like she was something fragile and precious and she was... I need a lawyer, Clara said. Okay. My cousin Janelle works at a family law firm downtown. She's not an attorney, but she knows everyone. Call her tonight, okay? And Clara? Don't sign anything, not a single piece of paper, until you talk to someone. Clara nodded, looked down at the lab result, at the normal rain, at the date. September 2023. Tried to remember that month. They'd gone to a wedding. Ethan had drunk too much and danced with his cousin's wife, and Clara with a headache. She'd been alone in the car. for no reason she could name, and herself it was hormones. That night, they lay in bed in the dark. Ethan hadn't come home. She didn't was and she didn't care. What she cared about was bits of paper on the nightstand, glowing faint curtains. She opened her browser. She did the name of the urology clinic. She found the patient portal. She didn't have his login, but she had his date of birth, his social security number, and the answers to his security questions, because she was the one who'd set up the for him after the accident, when he'd been too dope to do it himself. She logged in. The portal prior history with the clinic. The initial consultation. The first test. Follow-up appointments, plural. 3 of them. September 2023. March 2024. Jan 2025. All normal. He'd been tested times. Every time. And he'd never said a word. Clara set the phone. She stared at the ceiling. Somewhere else, the refrigerator sat on. A floor peaked. The one by the bathroom. Been meaning to fix for 2 years. About 5 years of baby showers. 5 years of maybe next time. 5 years of Patricia's hand on her shoulder, full pitying smile. 5 years of her own mother asked on the phone, in that voice, maybe seeing a specialist. And Clara saying, it's just not in the cards for us. 5 years of lying to everyone she loved. Protect a man who'd been lying. She got out of bed. She went to the desk in the corner. The desk used when she still took design clients. He'd let the business wither to and pulled out a notebook. She opened a page. At the top she wrote, "What I know." Then she started making a list. The lawyer's office was on the 14th floor of a glass building in downtown Denver, and Clara felt underdressed the moment she walked in. She was wearing the nicest thing she owned, a charcoal blazer over a black top, slacks she'd bought for a funeral 2 years ago, and she still felt like she'd wandered into someone else's life. Janelle, Dana's cousin, had met her in the lobby and walked her up. "Mara Silverman is the best we've got for this," Janelle had said in the elevator. "She's tough, but she's fair, and she hates liars." Mara Silverman was in her 50s, with silver hair cut sharp and a desk that was alarmingly clear. She shook Clara's hand, gestured to a chair, and said, "Tell me everything." So Clara did. She told her about the accident, the diagnosis, Patricia's kitchen table intervention, the promise. She told her about 5 years of carrying it. She told her about Brianna on the porch, about the divorce papers, about the lab results she'd found in the box. She told her about the patient portal and the 3 follow-up tests. When she finished, Mara was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You have the original lab result?" "I have copy. The originals are with the clinic." "Good. We'll subpoena them." "Do you have access to joint financial accounts?" "Some. He handles most of it. I have a checking account in my name with about $8,000. Our joint savings. I can see it online, but I can't transfer without his signature." "How much is in joint savings?" "Last I checked, about $42,000. Mara made it. And we bought it. Both names on the deed. Mortgage is about $280,000 left. House is probably worth, I don't know, mid-4. Okay, here's what I need you to do. First, don't sign anything. Second, start documenting everything. Texts, emails, conversations. Write down dates and times. Third, we're going to file a response that includes a claim for full financial disclosure. If he's been hiding assets. You do that? Hide assets? People try all the time, especially when they think their spouse isn't paying. Mara looked at her. "Were you paying attention, Clara?" Clara thought about the joint account she hadn't logged into. The credit card statements she'd opening. The way Ethan had started handling all the bills about 3 years ago, saying, "I've got it, you've got it late." "No," said. "Then we start paying now." The meeting long. By the time Clara got to her car, her phone had 4 missed calls from Ethan, and she did her back. Instead, she drove to the grocery store, bought what didn't need, and sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes eating a granola bar and staring. She was gagged. She got home. Ethan's car in the driveway, the living room, sitting on the couch like he owned the place, which technically did. She walked in. "Where have you been?" "I've been calling you. I was out." "Clara, we need to talk about the papers. My lawyer says if you don't respond within 30 days, lawyer today." That stopped him. His mouth closed. "You what?" "I saw a lawyer. A divorce attorney. Mara Silverman." Ethan sat back down, and through his hair. "You don't need a lawyer. We can work this out between us. It doesn't have to be ugly, doesn't it?" Clara set her bag on the coffee table. She pulled out the lab result, the one from September 2023, and laid it flat on the table between them. Ethan looked at it. His face did that thing again. the smoothing, but this time I was watching for it. And she saw the exact moment what it was. Did you? The box in the closet. The one you forgot about. The one with all your medical records. She paused. There, follow-up to them. All normal. That one was over 2 years ago. He didn't say anything. Did you know? Clara, did you know? He looked away. At the window. At the book. At anything but her. Yes, he said. The word was audible. Clara felt it then. Not cold clarity of that morning, but something hot and sharp that started up her throat. You. Going to tell you. When? When were you going to tell me? After the divorce was final? After Brianna had the baby? After I'd spent the rest of my life thinking I would win? It wasn't like that. He stood up, voice rising. I found out, okay? I got retested because my doctor had to check. And by then the one who couldn't. Already told the whole bridge club. Your mom had already booked a fertility specialist appointment. What was I supposed to do? Walk in and say, sorry, honey, false alarm, and lying to everyone for nothing? Yes, Clara's voice cracked. It's exactly what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to tell me the truth. You let me, all of them. She was breathing too fast, and on the couch to steady herself. Her parents knew too, didn't they? It wasn't a question. Thin silence was the answer. Mom found out first, he said. She saw the test result helping me with insurance paperwork. She said it would be better to wait when the time was right. Time was right too. I know. Do you? Do you know what it's been like? Do you know what it feels like to have every woman in this town look at you like you're a person? Like your body failed? Like you're not a real woman because you can't? She stopped. Swallowed. And all that time you were fine. Perfectly fine. And you just wear it. The room was quiet. Ethan stood there, shoulders hunched. And for the first time, Clara saw him clearly. Not the man she'd married, not the injured boy to protect, but a coward. A man who'd chosen the easy law and then called it kindness. I'm signing your divorce papers, said. Her voice was low and steady now. Not until I have everything I'm entitled to. Not until the truth's on record. You want out? But you're not walking clean. Ethan's face changed, slid off, replaced by some mistake. Am I? Parents? This will destroy them. The community made their choice. And so did you. Sarah picked up the lab result on the table and folded it in her pocket. I'll report, Ethan. He left 10 minutes later. She heard the front door car start, tires on gravel. Middle of the living room and let herself shake. Waves, her hands, her shoulders, her knees. She sat onto the couch, her head in her hands. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It's Brianna. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but he just called me and he sounded scared. What did you do? Clara stared at the text. Then she tipped back. I told him the truth. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, finally. Can we meet? There's something you should know. Patricia Mercer arrived at 10 the next morning, wearing a cream-colored pantsuit and pearl earrings that cost more than Clara's first car. She didn't ring the doorbell. She used the key Ethan had given her years ago. In case of emergency, she'd said, and let herself in. Clara was at the kitchen table with a mug of coffee and Mara Silverman's business card, trying to work up the nerve to call the financial institutions Mara had listed. She looked up when Patricia walked in. You didn't call me back, Patricia said. It wasn't a question. I've been busy, clearly. Patricia set her handbag on the counter, the Birkin, the one she only brought out when she meant business. Ethan called me last night. He says you're threatening him. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm getting a lawyer. A lawyer. Clara, really? Patricia pulled out a chair and sat down, smooth as a curtain falling. This is a family matter. It doesn't need to become a spectacle. It already is a spectacle. Or have you forgotten the part where your son got his receptionist pregnant and brought divorce papers to my kitchen table? Patricia's smile didn't wait. I know this is a shock, but Ethan is a good man. He's been under so much pressure. Clara set down her. Patricia, I know about the follow-up tests. I know he's been fertile since 2020. And I know you. The smile held for exactly 1 beat longer than it should have. Then it cracked, just at the end. I don't know what you're... Don't. I found the lab results. I logged into the patient portal. There are 3 tests, all normal, and Ethan told me you saw the first one. That you said to wait for the... Patricia's hand went to her pearl necklace. She twisted it once. It was the first tell Clara had ever... That was a private fan decision, Patricia said. Her voice had dropped, lost the edge. Ethan was humiliated. After the accident, he was... The doctor said he'd never have children. And then when it turned good, Well, by then the narrative was all. You'd already told family. The church lady knew. What good would it have done to undo it? It would have made everyone foolish. Everyone? Clarice rose. It would have made me look like it. It would have given me 5 years of not being pitied at every grocery store and beating and... The chair scraped the floor. You don't get to tell much my tone. Not in my house. Not after what you did. Patricia stood too. She was older than Clara. But she had a way of filling a room that made eyes irrelevant. Let me hear with you, Clara. If you dress through the courts, if you air our family's business in public, you'll not win. Ethan has the income. Ethan has the connections. This community knows it. They know Harold. They know me. You think they'll believe? Mercer family? Or a woman who's clearly acting out of hurt and spite? Is that a threat? It's advice. From you. Pippa picked up her handbag. Sign the papers, Clara. Take what he's offering. It's more than fair. Walk away, act. My dignity. Clara laughed. It came out harsh. You want to talk about dignity? You want to talk about the woman who sat in this kitchen 5 years ago and held hands and cried and said, "Please, Clara, son's pride." That woman took my dignity. She never gave it back. Patricia was at the door now, with her hand on the frame. A mistake you'll regret. Ethan may be willing to be generous, but if you force his hand, get out of my... Patricia left. The door clicked shut with expensive sound. Clara stood a long time. Hands were clenched at her sides. She unclenched them slowly. Finger by finger, they were trembling. He picked up her phone. He had an email from Mara. Filed response to petition. Also, pulled credit report. There are 2 accounts with Ethan's name you may not know. Details attached. Clara opened the attachment. A savings union across town. And $67,000. Open, October 2023. 1 month after the first follow-up test. A second account. This one Tricia's names. Balance, $24,000. Opened January 2020. Clara read the numbers twice. Then she sat down hard on the nearest chair. He'd been moving money. The day he found out he was fertile, he'd been siphoning money to accounts she didn't know existed. Planning, preparing, building his Excel, trying to be a good wife. Her phone buzzed. Brianna again. Can meet you at the Starbucks on Bellevue. 3 o'clock, please. Clara looked at the email, looked at the door where Patricia had stood, looked at the divorce papers still sitting on the table. 3 o'clock. I'll be there. At 3, Clara sat in a booth at Starbucks with an iced tea. She wasn't watching Brianna walk in. The younger one looked smaller than he had on the porch. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, a hoodie pulled over the sweater dress. She slid into the booth across from Clara and put her hands around a hot like it was a lifeline. Thanks meeting me. Brianna, I know you have no to. I have plenty of... I want to know what he told. Brianna took a breath. He told me you couldn't have kids, that you'd known for years, that you were okay with it, that you didn't even want to be a mom. He said you two had an understanding, that you were staying married for a parent, that you were basically roommates. Did he tell you I slept in the same bed as him 3 days ago? Brianna flinched. He said you slept in the guest room. I never slept. I believe you. Brianna's eyes were wet. I believe you, and I feel so stupid. He showed me text messages from you, saying you are fine with everything, saying him to be happy. Clara, I never sent those. I never. I mean, I didn't know, but I know now. He forged, or he texts out of context. I don't know. But he's not who I thought. I'm his baby, and I don't know what to do. Clara looked at this girl. 6 years old, 5 months pregnant, sitting in a Starbucks crying because she'd been lied to Clara for 5 years. And she felt something she hadn't expected. Not even pity. They were both clapping. Anything. Do you still have the text messages he sent you? The ones where he talked about the... Brianna nodded. Oh, I never did anything. Good. Clara leaned forward. Because I think we need to talk when a man lies to 2 women at the same time. They met again 2 days later, this time at Clara's kitchen table. Brianna brought her phone, a laptop, and a cardboard box full of papers, bank statements Ethan had left in her apartment, emails he printed, a handwritten note he'd given her for Valentine's Day. It said, "You're the only one who really sees me." Clara spread everything out on the table. Dana came over too, because Clara had called her and said, "I need backup." And Dana had shown up with tacos and a look on her face that said, "I'm ready to bring this down." Okay, Dana said, looking at her. "What are you looking supposed infertility and supposed consent, financial documents that might connect to the hidden accounts, any communications between Ethan and Patricia that referenced the medical situation. Brianna had all of it. She was a saver, the kind of person who never cleared her inbox, who kept every receipt in a shoebox. It was the kind of habit that would have driven Ethan crazy if he'd known. Here, Brianna tapped her phone screen. This is from January. He says, and I quote, Clara knows about us and she's fine. She said she'd rather I be happy than trapped in a marriage with someone who can't give me what I need. Print that. Clara said, I already did. 3 copies. Dana looked at Brianna. You're smarter than you look. I'm not stupid. I was. There's a difference. No one argued. By the end of the afternoon, they had a folder thick with documents. Text transcripts. Bank statements showing deposits from Ethan's business account into the credit union account. An email from Patricia to Ethan dated March 2024 that said, don't say anything to Clara about the wait until after the country club event. We don't need. Clara stared at that email for a long. The country club event. She read it. Patricia's 40th anniversary charity gala. Clara had worn a blue dress and smiled through 3 hours of women asking her when she was going to start a. And Patricia had squeezed her hand and said, you're being so brave. She put the email in the folder thing. Mara said on the phone that evening, after Clara had sent her scan thing. It is good. Really good. The hidden accounts. The forged text messages. The emailer. This paints a picture of A judge will not like it, but I need it with you. Family court doesn't punish people for being liars. The financial stuff, yes. We can argue for a larger share of the hidden assets. The emotional stuff? It matters for credibility, but it's not going to. I don't jail. You want Clara. Thought about it. She thought about the lab pocket. About Patricia's pearls. About 5 years of baby showers. About Brianna in Starbucks. I want it on record, she said. I want the truth to be in court documents. One can read it. I don't want to sign something that says we had irreconcilable differences and walk away like this was a normal divorce. I want it to say he lied. That his family lied, that they made me carry it. Mara was quiet. That's going to cost you. He'll fight it. He'll offer money to keep quiet. Money, probably. And if you turn it down, it's ugly. I know. Then ready for ugly. Ethan called 3 days later. His voice was different. Tight, controlled. The voice he used with client and on payments. Let's meet. I want to make an offer. Through our lawyers. Clara, come on. This doesn't have to go to trial. I'll give you the house. I'll give you 75% of the savings. I'll pay your attorney fees. All I ask is that we keep this between us. No public records. No telling people what? That you're fertile? That you let me take the blame for 5 years? That we sign a non-disclosure agreement, both of us. You talk about my medical history. I don't talk. Clean break. Clara was sitting in her Target parking lot when he said it. She'd gone in for light bulbs and come out with a couple of things she didn't need. Now she was sitting behind the wheel, listening, try to buy her silence. 75, she said. 80. 80. And the house. The house. And I'll cover it for 6 months. That's generous. I'm trying to be fair. You laughed. You're not wrong. You want me to sign an NDA. You want me to spend the rest of my life not being allowed to run my marriage ended. You want me to just hear quietly with your hush money while you move your parent into the house outside. No, I'm not signing an NDA. I'm not taking the hush. The truth is going to be on record. Every bit of it. The tests, the accounts, others' email, all of it. He was quiet for a long time. He spoke again, his voice broke. You're making a mistake. You think people will care? You think this community will take your word over mine? Over my family's? I don't care what community thinks. When this gets out, you'll be the woman who dragged her husband's medical records into court. You'll be the bitter ex-wife who couldn't handle that he moved on. They'll say whatever they want. But the court records, and that. She hung up. She sat in the car for a minute, picked up her phone and called Brianna. Offered me a settlement, Clara said. With an NDA. What did you say? I said no. I'm going to trial. Or mediation at least. But I'm not keeping quiet. Brianna was quiet. Then, good. Not either. I met my mom last night. I told her everything. She said I should testify if it goes to court. No one should get away with treating like that. Her closed her eyes. Thank you, Brianna. Don't thank me. I'm doing it for the baby. He deserves to know his father isn't if he's too young to understand it. Clara set the phone down. She looked at the targets in the passengers. Light bulbs. A candle. A pack of pens, a notebook, lined with graph paper for She picked up turned to a fresh page. At the top, she wrote, "New apartment, layout ideas." Then she started to draw. The mediation was held in a conference room on the 8th floor of a building that smelled like carpet cleaner and anxiety. Clara arrived with Mara and a leather folder full of documents. Ethan arrived with his lawyer, a man in an expensive suit who kept checking his watch, and Patricia, who had invited herself along despite Mara's objection. "She's a party to this," Ethan's lawyer had said on the phone. "She has a right to be present," Mara had snorted. "She has a right to be named in the fraud claim. That's about it." But there she was, sitting at the far end of the table, cream blazer, pearls, face like a marble bust. Harold wasn't with her. He'd called Clara the night before, a short, awkward call in which he'd said, "I'm sorry," Clara 3 times, and then hung up. The mediator was a woman named Lorraine, 60-ish, with reading glasses on a chain and the weary patience of someone who'd seen every version of this. She opened with the standard speech about cooperation and common ground. Clara tuned it out. She was watching Ethan. He wouldn't look at her. They went through the financials first. The house, the joint accounts, the retirement funds. Ethan's lawyer presented a spreadsheet that showed Ethan's income, their assets, a proposed dividend. It was reasonable on the surface. It didn't mention the credit union, Mara said, correcting. "We have evidence of 2 additional accounts not listed on Mr. Mercer's financial disclosure. One at a credit union in Aurora, balance approximately $67,000. One joint account with Patricia, balance approximately $24,000. Both opened after Mr. Mercer's fertility status changed." Ethan's lawyer nodded. "We dispute the characterizing. I have the bank statements." She slid copies across the table. Opened October 2023 and January 2024, respectively. Funded by transfers from Mr. Mercer's business account, and, in the case of the joint account, by Patricia. Ethan's lawyer flipped through the statements. Ethan had gone victim. Patricia's hand was on her. The lawyer. And then Mara pulled out a set folder. Med records. 3 semen analyses, all showing normal results, dating from September 2023 through January 20. Mr. Mercer was aware of these results. His mother was aware of at least the first one. Neither disclosed them to Mercer, despite the fact that Mrs. Mercer had been publicly identified as the infertile party for 5 years, based on the original 2021 diagnosis. The room went quiet. Lorraine, the mediator. Mercer. "Are you alleging that your husband and his family knowingly concealed medical information from you?" "I am," Clara said. Steady. She'd practiced in the car. "I'm alleging that they knew he was fertile, that they knew I was carrying the blame for something that wasn't true, and that they chose me. For 2 years." Patricia spoke the first time. This was sharp. "That is a complete misrepresentation of Mrs. Mercer," Rain said. "Neither, Mrs. Mercer. I'll hear from you, but let's let the record reflect first." She presented the email from Patricia, the one about. She presented the forged text messages. She presented Brian's sworn statement, which had. By the time Mara finished, Ethan's lawyer was scribbling. Ethan at the table. Patricia's face had gone to brick. "Mr. Mercer," Lorraine said, "do you dispute the authentic documents?" Ethan's lawyer whispered something, then shook his head. "Oh," he said, "that they're real. You knew you were fertile as of 2023. Long pause. "Yes. You didn't tell your wife." Another pause. "No. Your mother knew." Started to speak. Ethan cut her off. "Yes, she knew." Lorraine looked at Patricia. "Mrs. Mercer, did you advise your son not to disclose to his wife?" The mouth was a thin line. "I advised time." "The right time," Clara repeated. She hadn't meant to speak. "It just..." Lorraine looked at her. "Mrs. Mercer would like to see happen here." Clara took a breath. She'd this moment for days. Rehearsed it. But now that she was here, the word expected. "I want divorce," she said. "I want a fair division of assets, including the hidden accounts. I want my name removed from the narrative that I was the infertile one. I want the court record to reflect the truth, and I want to walk out of here and speak to any of you again." She looked at Ethan when she said the last part. He finally met her eyes. What she saw there wasn't anger. It was something worse. The faint, bewildered look of a man who'd only just realized the woman he'd married was and that he'd hurt. "That's it," he said. "No alimony?" No alimony. I don't want your money. I want the truth." The mediation lasted 4 more hours. They haggled us. Clara kept it. bought out Ethan's share at a reduced for the hidden assets. They divided the accounts, big timeline, and at the end, when the papers were joined, Clara line by line, and said, the settlement agreement in section titled is a fact. It said, in plain language, that Ethan Mercer had been diagnosed with severe oligospermia in 2021, that subsequent testing in 2023, 2024, and 25 had shown normal results, that Mr. Mercer and his mother, Ch. Mercer, had been aware of these results, but not disclosed them to Mrs. Mercer, and that Mrs. Mercer had been publicly identified as ill based on the originosis. It was there. In white, Aunt Clara signed it, then signed it. Patricia didn't. She wasn't a party to the divorce. Her name appeared in the findings. She sat there while Ethan signed, and her Clara had never seen it cooled. Just for a second. Then she stood up and didn't come back. When it was over, the building into the Denver afternoon. The sun was bright. The air smelled like exhaust and roasted nuts from a cart on the corner. Mara said something about paperwork. She wasn't really listening. I'd walk and realized she was crying. Not the heaving, dramatic kind, just tears running down her face. While people walked past wherever they were going. She'd won. She'd gotten it she'd asked for, and she felt empty. Like someone had reached inside her chest and pulled out the living her for the last 3 weeks. The purpose, the white hot to be believed. It was all gone, and what was left was just a woman standing on a sidewalk crying, with a folder full of papers, and a house she couldn't afford to keep by, and no idea what came next. Her phone was a text from Dana. How did it go? Clara typed, done. Then, can I come over? Dana wrote back immediately, always. Tacos and wine, bring your sad self. Clara laughed. A real laugh, and messy, on a sidewalk in downtown Denver. She put her phone away and walked to the parking garage. 6 months later, Clara stood in the doorway of a 2-bedroom apartment in a walkable neighborhood just north of Denver and watched 2 movers carry her couch through the front door. It was smaller than the old couch. She'd sold the big sectional when she sold the house. It fit her life now. She'd kept the house for 4 months after she'd sold it. The money had paid off the remaining mortgage, covered the new apartment's security deposit 6 months ago, and left enough to buy a new laptop and a set of design software she'd been eyeing for years. She'd kept the sunflower money. She'd kept the medical records box, though she'd moved it to the top shelf of the bedroom closet, out of easy. She hadn't opened it since the renovation. The apartment was on the 3rd floor. It had big windows and a balcony where she'd put a chair and a small table. The kitchen was tiny, but the light was good in the morning. She'd painted the living room a warm gray and put up one accent wall in a deep blue-green, the color she'd always wanted to use somewhere but never had, because Ethan had said it was too bold. It was bold. She liked her design was coming back. Slowly, she'd reached out to her client, put up a website, taken a few small jobs, a kitchen remodel in Lake, a nursery for a friend of Dana's, a living room refresh for a couple in Boulder. The work was... It reminded her that she was good at something. That she had an identity that wasn't Ethan's wife, or the woman who couldn't have kids. She was Clara Voss. She'd gone back to her maiden. The court had allowed it as part of the divorce. It felt like putting on a coat she'd forgotten she had. The Mercer name had taken it. Word got around. It always did in a community like Littleton, where the country club and the church and the PTA formed a triangle of information that nothing is. The court record was... Someone knew someone who knew it. The story read, not in its full complexity, but in the way these things... Did you hear about Ethan? The infertility thing? Turns out it was him all along. And his mom knew. Can you imagine? Patricia had stopped going to the... Harold had started going to a different church. Ethan had lost 2 big fans, the kind who valued reputation over adults. And Brianna had moved into a small apartment of her own. Clara knew this because Brianna texted her. Not often. Every weeks. The baby had been April, a boy, 7 pounds. Clara had replied, beautiful. Great. Brianna written back, looks like him. It is annoying. But he's perfect, Clara had with that. She'd saved the photo in a folder on her phone. Ethan had tried for the birth. He'd paid child support on time. But Brianna told Clara in one of her texts about it. That he held the baby like he was affecting him. That he kept making comments about when family. And Brianna finally said, there is no we, Ethan. There's you, there's me and Cole, and that's it. Clara didn't any of it. She vindicated. She just felt tired. Tired in the way you feel after a long illness, when the fever breaks, and you realize how much energy it took. May. He said. His voice was she remembered. I don't know what to hear from me, but I wanted to apologize. Properly, not over the phone. Can I buy you coffee? She almost said no. Then she thought about the man who'd sat in the kitchen 5 years ago and said nothing, while his wife asked why. The man who'd called her the night before mediation and said, I'm sorry, and hung up. She thought about what it meant to be the kind of person who lets things happen. Okay, she said, but I picked the place. They met at a diner on Colfax. Harold than she remembered. Maybe he just looked older. Strip of polish. He ordered, didn't touch it. I don't expect forgive me, he said. I don't think I'd forgive me, but I need you to know. I didn't the retest at first. Petra told me about a year after. I told her we should tell you. She said it was too late. She said you'd already built a life around it. Ting it would be cruel. That's what she said. That's what she said. And he stopped. Took off his glass with a napkin. I let her talk me out of it. I've let her talk me out of most things for 40 years. That's not an excuse. It's the truth. Coward. Same as Ethan. Clara stirred her coffee. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm old. And I do this sitting between us. He paused. Patricia and I are separating. She's moving to Scottsdale to be near her sister. I'm staying in the house, alone for the first time, ever. I'm sorry, Clara said, and she was, in a way. Not for the marriage. Didn't know enough about it to be sorry. But for the version of Harold, be years not. Don't be. It's probably what I deserve. He finally took a sip of coffee. You look good, Clara. I saw your website. The kitchen in Lakewood? That was beautiful work. Thank you. You were always good. You know that, right? Before any of that, always the best thing in that family. Clara to say to that. She nodded. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the clink of other conversations. Harold hugged her. It was awkward. He was a man but it was real. He got in his car and drove away on the sidewalk and watched him. She didn't forgive him. Not exactly. But she understood him. And understanding, she was learning, was not the same as forgiveness. It was just space. Room to let us without carrying it anymore. It was a Tuesday when Clara stood in her apartment door, this time not, but welcoming a client. A woman named Lena, pregnant with her second child, who'd found Clara through the website and wanted to redesign the nursery and aired space for birds. In, Clara said. I've got sketches on the table. Lena walked in, looked at. I love this wall. The color. What is that? Benjamin Moore, deep, bold, I know. Lena set her bag down. I was going to do something beige, but my husband said, well, he said it makes me happy. Clara smiled. She spread the sketches out on the kitchen table. The table she'd eaten at alone for 5 years. Same table where Ethan had laid down divorce papers. The same table, Brianna and Dave, evidence like a puzzle. Okay, Clara said, picking up a pencil. About what you want. She leaned over the table. The afternoon lit windows and fell across the sketches. Outside, a dog barked. A car, the coffee maker, her new, the one she'd bought with her first, gurgled softly in the corner. Clara vowed a line on the page. Then another. She was building something new,